Get up to speed and transform your gaming experience with Blue Yonder broadband internet.
Gamepad.
You're watching Gamepad with me, Violet Berlin. I can't stop, I'm going out. Only kidding. In fact, you should stay in more and do stuff like this. Survive on your own in the jungle, a far cry from anywhere.
You don't have a lot going for you. You're outnumbered and they have all the good guns. The jungle is your friend. Try to stay off the paths and use the jungle to keep you hidden.
Flippin' heck, we explore the shared heritage of video games and pinball.
So not the same as the video game that you were talking about, but it did its job for us since the 30s.
And a crash course in futuristic hovercar racing.
I'm going to show you some tips on how you can be the fastest racer on what is the most ridiculously fast racer ever.
But first, games on the go. Nintendo keep coming up with better and better designs for the Game Boy, but the competition's heating up. For instance, Sony are developing their own handheld, the PSP, and then there's all those games you can play on your mobile phone. People say that mobile gaming is now huge. Whilst I don't think playing on a gigantic phone is exactly what they have in mind, the figures say it's the fastest growing area of the games industry. This is mainly due to two things: new phones coming out with higher resolution colour screens, and the widespread availability of Java, a universal cross-platform programming language, which means developers can adapt their titles for phones relatively easily, so you can play your old favourites in miniature. And it's becoming a social thing too, thanks to developments in SMS and wireless technology. It could soon be the norm to play against other mobile gamers in the same room or across the world. But if you really want to get up close and personal, there's always this cosy 2-on-1 option. Long gone are the days when a phone was just a phone. I mean, how did we ever get by without phones that doubled as portable disco lights? The more is better ethos is without doubt central to the design of Nokia's N-Gage, which has email, radio, MP3, Bluetooth and electric shock device. Okay, I lied about the last bit. The N-Gage may be reaching people who've never before picked up a controller, but some people are still having trouble grasping the fact that you're actually expected to use this bat-like device as a phone. In public too! Still, this lady liked it.
Yeah, I did. It was great.
What game did you play?
I don't know. A jumping game.
Well, you can always phone a friend. So, what's the verdict?
Yeah. I mean, it feels it feels fine at the moment.
Wise words indeed. Now, when are they going to let us make phone calls on our Game Boys? Naughty Dog, the developer behind Crash Bandicoot, has done for the platformer what the PlayStation has done for games. Gamepad spoke to head man Jason Rubin about his new baby, Jak II Renegade, and how the platformer is growing up. Well, almost.
Kill metalheads, get toys. Sounds good to me.
So what do you do when you're older and harder? Move to the city.
We found inspiration for the design of the city from a lot of places. We looked at some of the early work done on the Star Wars, Blade Runner. There's a lot of kind of the boxed-in feeling of Japanese cities like Tokyo.
Stay with me!
We've really worked the story a lot better now.
I want information. Where the hell am I?
You are in a restricted zone. Move along.
The world has changed, the world is darker.
The pattern is running short on eco, eh? And the metalheads are short on patience.
It's a very different game with a very different tone, and that reflects both the change in the plot and it also reflects a change to a certain extent in the industry. We have a lot more older players now, and we're trying to make sure that this is not a game they have to play with the curtains closed.
Slow down, Jack and a fat man. You two had better run that by me again.
This game focuses on Jack. Jack is taken prisoner. Jack is experimented on. There's two sides of Jack, dark Jack and light Jack.
Something's happening to me. Something he did. I can't control it.
Don't wet your fur, Chili Pepper, because we are rolling with the Peacemaker.
Whoa! I need one of those.
Daxter has as big a role in Jak II as he did in Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy.
Being a big hero sure makes you thirsty.
The biggest change in Jak II really is in the gameplay.
Have a little pain right back.
We've opened up the game to physics, and we've opened up the game to multiple ways of going through the levels. We give you a gun, you use the gun whenever you want, but you don't have to. You can put it away and still fight with your hands and feet. Or you can take out the hoverboard when we give it to you. Or you can ride any of the vehicles in the city. Or you can use your dark Jack moves, which kind of act like smartphones in an area. So there's actually choices. And with the physics system, every time you play it, things are different. And it really gives the world a feeling, not just here's some tasks we set out for you, now solve them, but here's a world, a problem, a plot, go play.
Hello, cherries. Ready to hunt a few metalheads? Follow me, stick close, and watch my sis. It's gonna be fun. Here we go.
The demolition duo has returned. You can count on us.
Gamepad. Having spent years skulking around gloomy subterranean corridors, isn't it about time that first-person shooter fans set their sights on something a little bit more, I don't know, exotic? Well, the time is now, and the game is Far Cry on the PC. Far Cry starts off when freelance mariner Jack Carver is commissioned to transport an attractive woman to a small, unspoiled island. And it's a good thing he took his snazzy binoculars with him.
Yeah, but you think every now and then it would cool down, maybe a wind or something.
Wind, Schmin. You know we're like 20 feet from the equator here. It's Micronesia, for crying out loud.
So, what do you know? The moment he arrives at shore, he finds himself being fired upon by an unidentified militia group. Before he knows it, his boat's been destroyed and his companion has scarpered.
These bugs are eating me alive.
It's a tropical island. What do you expect?
So it's just him, his binoculars, his gun, and the jungle.
Get up there any way you can, but try to keep out of sight. This area is crawling with Murchis.
Keep them busy, I'll get the others.
Eat lead!
Watch my enemy fall like a Hollywood stuntman. Crumple. This so-called ragdoll physics isn't the only clever technology in the game. The artificial intelligence of the enemies means that if you take a long-distance shot at someone, they'll radio any pals who are closer to home in on your location. So, I'm out of here. The key to outwitting the enemies in Far Cry seems to be staying under cover, whether it be water or palm trees. Apparently, wading straight in and gunning down everything that moves will get you killed within seconds. Oops, probably shouldn't have done that then. Now, see the yellow gauge in the bottom left corner? If I shoot more, it turns to red, showing the enemies are definitely onto me. Ah, luckily I took him out in one shot, as the longer it takes for an enemy to die, the longer they have to use their radio to alert their pals.
You don't have a lot going for you. You're outnumbered and they have all the good guns. The jungle is your friend. Try to stay off the paths and use the jungle to keep you hidden.
Wise words indeed. If only I'd listened to him. Ah well, when the finished version of Far Cry lands on the doormat, I'll try and remember to spend more time listening and less time gazing at the pretty island before blowing it up.
Betty, you out there?
The virtual acting in Crimson Skies is more human than any we've found yet in a game. See what you think.
I got a little hung up. How much did you make off with?
A couple grand.
I'm afraid we're gonna need more than that.
What do you mean?
I had a little problem in the high-stakes poker room last night.
What kind of problem?
Gambling problem. Thibodeau cheated me out of the Pandora.
You gambled away a Zap?
Rendezvous over Calico Bay. I'll fill you in on the details as soon as I remember them.
Phew. When I'm not watching gamepad, I am a robot.
This is Gamepad 4. I love cable modems. Pete Sampras versus Leighton Hewitt, meeting up for the first time in a final at Queen's.
30 all.
Well, it's top spin on the Xbox actually, but anyway, this set is the decider for upstart Hewitt against tennis god Sampras. But do you know what year this is? And
30-40.
what happens next? Find out if you're right when Gamepad returns. Welcome back to Gamepad, recreating the moment Pete Sampras and Leighton Hewitt famously faced off in the Queen's final. Did you get the year? It was 2000, and the outcome of the match?
Game, set, and match. Hewitt.
Leighton Hewitt was triumphant. History doesn't record whether or not he had a nice lie down in the grass at this point, but we'll gloss over that. If video games had an elder brother, it would be pinball. When Nolan Bushnell first invented the arcade game Pong, it was to attract the pinball players, who were the cool youth of the time. Think of the Fonz. Well, these days, the pin tables are turned, as all the new pinball games are actually video games in disguise. Don't believe me? I'll show you. Meet Pinball Jeff. With a name like that, you won't be surprised to hear he's a leading authority on the well-known table game which started off in the 1930s as Bagatelle. He took me to a secret location where he keeps some of his 200-strong collection of pinball tables. Inside, it was a homage to the great, weighty, noisy, physical, electromagnetic joy of pinball. How pinballs and bikes. Have we stepped back in time?
I think we have a bit, yes.
That one I recognise from Happy Days.
Yeah, you're right. Bizarrely, though it was set in the 50s, this machine wasn't made until 1972.
And that was when video games started replacing pinball games in pubs, wasn't it?
Yeah, sadly, you're absolutely right. Can I show you how this thing works?
Yeah,
actually?
sure. Except that I was winning, have you realised?
Yes, exactly. It's too competitive for me. So, it's a bit like a car bonnet. Up she goes to reveal her innards to the world. And this motor is really the heart of the machine in terms of keeping everything together. A little bit further up, we've got this big magnet here that does the alligator gate. And of course, a little bit further up, the all-important flipper. Without it, it wouldn't be a pinball machine. All have one thing in common. They all use electromagnetic force to work. You put electricity through some wires and it makes things move. But you can do lots of stuff with it. You can actually have a simple memory system using relays and stepper units. So not the same as the video game that you were talking about, but it did its job for, well, since the 30s.
But took up an awful lot of space.
Yes, it did, have to admit, yes.
By the late 70s, pinball tables still looked pretty much the same on the surface. In fact, they played pretty much the same. But look inside and you could see how video games were beginning to show their influence.
Lots and lots of space, as you can see. Chips with everything. Here's its little brain with the game program and everything on these, a few little chips along here. This does all the pretty lighting effects. Over here we've got the solenoid driver board that does all the bits and pieces that actually move. And here's a little bit that does the bleepy bleepy sounds.
Pin tables found in bars and pubs today offer much more than bleepy bleepy sounds. They're 21st century techno entertainment, old style.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Absolutely. In spite of its delightfully retro theme, it's a very sophisticated modern game using, clever electronics, super duper software that actually checks out the game while it's being played, analyses faults. If you're a mechanic, it tells you what's wrong. If it detects a fault, we'll actually bypass it so it can carry on working. It's even got a whole circuit board dedicated just to the flippers using infrared and stuff.
So basically, it's no more than a video game with a very sophisticated human user interface.
Well, us pinball buffs would rather disagree with that. You video people might not.
I think we'll have to settle it over a match.
I rise to the challenge,
Okay.
definitely.
Gamepad.
Of course, Gamepad has a website, so why not check it out? You might be a normal, healthy person, but I'm a social recluse. So today's chart is the top 3 games to play on your own. Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball enters our games to play on your own chart at number 3. But probably not for the obvious reason. Those expecting porn were disappointed. It's actually a holiday sim. No nudity, just volleyball and clothes shopping. Trouble is, if you don't play this on your own, people will know how long you played to earn these bunny ears. At number 2, Colin McRae Rally. So make sure you kick everyone out of the room before you start the engine. The only company you need in the game is the voice of the co-driver, as he helps you navigate the treacherous tracks. If anyone else is with you while you're playing, they tend to talk, and then you can't hear where to go next. And then you'll shout at them, and they'll storm off. So you might as well kick them out in the first place. But stealthily climbing to the top of our chart of games that require solitude, it's Splinter Cell. A gripping adventure that deserves anyone's full-on concentration. Hanging around with your requisite Black Ops kit of guns and gadgets, if you really want to lose yourself in the world of night vision goggles and tranquilizer guns, then you need to be in a darkened room on your own. Oh, and I also find wearing a black polo neck helps. But maybe that's just me. Now, shh.
Identify this frequency.
Played alone, Splinter Cell's a knockout.
When I'm not watching Gamepad, I'm a woman's fashion designer.
If ever there were a high adrenaline thrill ride of a game, it's F-Zero GX on the GameCube. Now, Graham Boyd of CBG gives us a few tips on how to handle all that speed.
This is F-Zero GX. I'm going to show you some tips on how you can be the fastest racer on what is the most ridiculously fast racer ever. Now, first of all, we're going to look at combat. Now, you're equipped with this spinning move, which you can use to blast other racers out of your way. Now it's really useful if you're coming through a pack, you go into this move and it will knock other racers to the sidelines, it will get rid of some of their shields, and if you're lucky, it might even blow them up. A new move for F-Zero GX is the side attack. It works sort of the same way as a shield, so that's a good one to use if you're stuck in the middle of a pack, you've got lots of people coming up behind you, and you don't want to lose too much speed. Now, there is sections where you'll find yourself in the air, and it's really important that you keep your speed up there as well. Basically, you're coming in like a plane on landing, and you want to, at the last minute, pitch your nose up so you're getting a smooth landing, you're not losing any speed, and you're coming into the next corner at the maximum speed you can. Okay, now this tip is one for the real masters. You need to really know how to handle your F-Zero craft to get the best out of this one. Now it's been called snaking, and basically what it is utilising the drift of your craft as it goes round corners to get an extra little bit of boost. It's not the easiest thing to do, and it is punishing on your fingers, but it's been reported that experts can pick up almost 3,000 kilometers per hour with it, which is, 3 times as fast as your craft's meant to go. So that's F-Zero, fantastic game, ridiculously fast, and hopefully with the tips I've shown you, you'll be able to beat all your mates and the computer at it.
Next time on Gamepad, the show is full of Eastern promise as the Prince of Persia leaps into our waiting arms. Plus, game addiction. It's as old as games themselves. The rush you get from playing has made some people joystick junkies. Gamepad finds out the facts.
Video game addict, the game that they play would be the single most important thing in that person's life.
And why an old game can still be a great game.
Imagine if Sergio Garcia or Nick Faldo turned up on the tee at St Andrews and there was a 7-foot-high terrapin with spines on his back using one hand.
I'm Violet Berlin, and you've been watching Gamepad. Remember, your computer will need restarting before changes take place.
It's Lord of the Realm 3. For those of you who missed the first two. See ya! Wouldn't want to be ya.
Lower monthly payment.